Dear Venerable Sisters and Brothers, Dhamma friends, we are going to start the question and answer session. As usual, we'll start with the written questions. Accordingly, we'll ask Vincent kindly to present the written questions to start the session.
We have 12 questions today. To start with, dear Bhante, in sitting meditations, my body has gotten in the habit of tilting to the left about 10 degrees. I think sometimes I may eventually fall off the chair. My mind can become calm and quiet, but there is tension in the body, a pulling on the right side and back. As this happens often, is there anything I can do when I first take the sitting posture? Thank you.
I think 10% will be accepted in America. If you become too much leftist, then problem. So just go ahead with 10%, no problem. There's some or the other, when you are sitting, there is a kind of a not symmetry, not balance. So as far as you know it, that's it. As far as you are not doing it purposefully, there's something happening. So whenever mind becomes relaxed, whenever the body becomes relaxed, it is not always like army regimenting. It's not like a rigid kind of thing. It's always relaxed. So that is the point where the mind, the body can accommodate a healthy mind. So therefore just tolerate it, just continue with it. And after a while, when and where the concentration and the energy aspect become balanced, the body symmetry will come into. It is not something you do, but only you do is giving the good background, facilitating the background, just relax. And even if you are inclined to one side, as far as you know, you are aware of your body posture, and further if you know you are in breath while you are breathing in, if you know that you are in out breath while you are breathing out, that's it, okay. The balance, mindfulness will take the responsibility of the balance.
Venerable Bhante, you have given me faith and confidence that I can do meditation and progress further. Thank you for your encouragement and guidance and patience and wisdom. I shall keep practicing mindfulness as much as I can. Since we are ending this retreat, what should I do for my meditation when I have a question? Should I write it down and ask you in 2018? Or can I write to Vincent so he can sort it out and relay it to you? Thank you very much, Bhante, most respectfully.
Don't give commission to the Kappia, the Vincent. You just directly write to my email address. But don't write long thing, that's all I am asking. So sometimes people keep on writing, then I don't have enough time. So Vincent is having my email address, Dhammajiva@gmail.com, and you may write it. So that's the way, wherever I go, I ask Wi-Fi connection, because I always keep the connection with the meditators. So that is the answer for that question.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all the talks and instructions. I have two questions. One is that the loneliness or aloneness in my understanding still involves the ego in it. However, the final goal of the meditative practice is to let go of the ego. I find these two conceptions contradictory. Please elaborate if there is misunderstanding in my statement. The second question is about the benchmark or the timing when a student can go further meditating without a teacher. Could you please instruct more on that? Thank you so much.
The first one is that the comparative or relative with compared to the loneliness is bad. So when compared to the loneliness is better. So you develop more confidence about your own present moment. So unless otherwise you do not know this relative situation, aloneness may misunderstand as loneliness. So therefore don't let that happen. Entertain aloneness, that is to say solitude in the sense, and you make yourself the best friend. And this is not the final, but it is relative, comparative. Compared to the loneliness, it is better. That is the way we are using the replacing the bad by a good, replacing the good by better.
Dear Bhante, thank you for answering our questions and sharing your wisdom with us. I suffer from bipolar disease, also known as manic depression. On the application for this retreat, it asked whether you suffered from manic depression or any related illnesses. I put down that I did, worrying that it would jeopardize my application. It didn't, as I am here. And I have been applying meditation and mindfulness to my daily life because I do not believe in the pharmaceuticals that prescribe antidepressants and mood stabilizers. I have tried then, didn't enjoy or gain anything from them except negative effects. So my question is, do people who suffer from mental illness have to try to meditate for longer periods of time and be more mindful? I have bipolar 2, which is characterized by long periods of depression and hypomania. Symptoms include racing thoughts, impulsivity, recklessness, insomnia, and occasional maniac episodes. Please help me, as I am not close with my family. They refuse to believe in my illness. And due to stigma, I do not share it with most people. Thank you.
So this part, of course, that I am brought up in Sri Lanka, very little understanding about the psychological aspect in the Western thinking. But one day I read an article from Inside Meditation Society, and they say bipolar is the marginal level. Up to that, we can recommend meditation. And bipolar onward, when we become aggressive, it must be medication. An article was on meditation and medication. And so, lucky I do not know much about that. And more you know, more you get bogged into the situation. So this we can generalize and say that these things are very circumstantial. So you have to make use the mindfulness in a productive way, when and where possible. If you read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and he says how he underwent that kind of a panic attack and ultimately decided to commit suicide. And he has taken the pills and kept it there. He thought when the next attack happened, he knows another 4 or 5 days completely he is in agony. So in the early morning, 2 o'clock, he got an attack. So he reached his hand to the tablet and about to take it. And then something behind telling, even you commit, the question is not finished. That was suffer. Then another side of the mind telling, I can't live with myself even for a split second. And then the third thought came, I can't live with myself, there should have 2 cells then. Which one is the correct one? And his agony went to the peak. And it's a bursting light thing and bursting into a stark light. And he says that prevails for 6 months. Then onward, within 25 days, he became a world teacher in meditation. I used to go to a park and sit and wait, see people are moving. And 2 months, 6 months he entertained. And ultimately people came and asked, how could you maintain such a peace and composure? And they ask questions, and the way he's answering, now he became a world teacher. So therefore very difficult to make theories or the kind of thing. It's a matter of dosage. How much you must use mindfulness, as and when it is productive, and when it is not there, leave it aside. Do your other remedies, and when and there again you have to use. So very difficult for another person to tell you how much to practice and where to stop. And whenever there is, the situation is uncontrollable, what are the other remedial measures? If I gathered correctly, Sigmund Freud, towards his latter part of his life, he mentioned that hysteric level of trauma, that is what you call the mental sick, reducing to the day-to-day unsatisfactoriness is what does it mean by psychotherapy. You go up to the hysteric level and then you reduce it to a normal day-to-day unsatisfactoriness in the piecemeal basis. So the day you accept the day-to-day unsatisfactoriness, it is the answer for mental diseases. If you are going to do away with even the day-to-day unsatisfactoriness, the first truth of suffering, then only you ask for problems. So accept it, put up with, share with other Dhamma friends, and don't try to hide it. It is not my problem, it is a human problem. When your problem happens, we call it is my problem, my disease. No, it's a human problem. So therefore we have to share with, of course, with compassionate people. So this association with the true people, association with the noble people is a blessing. You must, it is not a how to call it, it's very expensive. Be with the good people, be with the true people. But they are not kind of advertising, they simple living, high-thinking people. Some or the other you have to keep the relationship. The secret is regular practice. Daily you have to have a set timetable. Whatever the business, take little time for walking meditation, take little time for sitting meditation, and other thing also apply SMS. Slowly, mindfully, silently. You have to do things little slower and apply mindfulness, whatever thing you do, and listen to your own sounds. When you are walking on this floor, if you are not mindful, you make sounds. If you are mindful, slowly you are just walk like a cat. But when you are slamming the door, when you are washing your dishes, listen to your own sounds. And naturally you become self-conscious. So these are the day-to-day activity. So therefore that I feel sorry, I have no much of knowledge, but I am very happy. This kind of statements you are making in a meditative atmosphere, that means you have taken your own risk and now you are somewhat positive. So therefore share with as much as possible with this psychological jargon, so other people will do, but the thing is, not another person can take the responsibility. You must do or you must not do. It is at your own risk. And more and more you learn the terminology or term meaning or definition of mindfulness, you see there's no regimentation. Mindfulness is kind of a relaxation. Definitely it must work for the mentally imbalanced situation. But the thing is, you have to apply in the proper dose. Overdosage or result-oriented thing is the one creating tension.
Venerable Bhante, is there such as regressing the stage for meditation due to the wrong method of practice? And if one left the meditation practice, when one picks up again, will restart from where he left?
If you replace the term meditation by mindfulness, I am positive. Meditation is a complicated term. And sometimes it's misused in a wrong way. So as far as the mindfulness is concerned, there's one particular sutta known as Sotanudhata Sutta. That is very, very, in the sense it's very radical. The Buddha mentioned Sotanudhata Sutta Dhata Parijita Manasanupekkhita Dittya Suppativijja. These are the qualifications, he says. If you develop mindfulness up to the sutta, well read, well listen, you have the fair book knowledge. Dhata, you keep it in your heart, you remember the value of mindfulness. Parichita, occasionally you put into use, sitting, walking, day to day. Manasanupekkhita, see whether it is really beneficial. Is it just for the sake of mindfulness or is it applicable into the day-to-day life? Dittya Suppatividya, one day you will understand mindfulness, no side effects, no after effects. It's a panacea for all the situations. That day you will verify yourself. Under such circumstances, if you happen to have a tragic death, completely scattered, even then the Buddha says, the momentum that you develop definitely lead you to the better world or to the heaven in the sense. And after a while you will reflect back and see, at the death I was at a panic, I was in the complete scattered. What make you to come to this better place? Then you will remember the last life I have practiced mindfulness, mastered mindfulness. Mindfulness is the one leading me under such uncertain situation. Not a single other mental concomitant can make that assurance. So when first, in 1977 maybe, 8, when Dhammajiva was teaching me, not in a formal way, I am in the second year, layperson, in the degree, university, so I used to go to him, and he is telling me, you bloody Buddhists, they were practice, thinking that we are the leading people in the world. We are the people spreading Dhamma to the world. We are Dhammajiva. We don't know mindfulness like. So we are always fighting. So I told, who told you that mindfulness is the main thing, that I am also Buddhist. I got the credit pass in the Buddhism as subject. Who you are to teach me like? Then he was convinced, he told, I will tell you one thing. Once you introduce mindfulness, you can never erase it from your mind. Ever catch it. Definitely lead to Nibbana. So there was some or the other, introduce it. Let it catch. And it's gathering the momentum. Then I told, are you sure? We say that I can give the confidence. And that is the only mental aspect of Cetasika. It's ever catching and always helpful, just like a noble friend. So therefore, don't believe faith. Don't believe the energy. Don't believe the concentration. Don't believe the wisdom. They are incredible. But the mindfulness. So later when I read Power of Mindfulness, in the second page, Venerable Jnanaponika is telling, mindfulness never betrays. Always catching. All the other faith can be, may or may not. At the time it will leave you. Energy can leave you. Concentration and the wisdom. They are religious kind of mental factors. But the mindfulness is not religious. It's very scientific. Once you introduce, it's catching. So therefore the best gift you can give it to your children or your near and dear one is introducing mindfulness. And later they may find their own ways and means to increase it. So therefore it's a irrevertible kind of a thing you can introduce to yourself or to anyone. So therefore, if you use meditation, I can't give the assurance. But if you rewrite the question with mindfulness, then I am positive for the question. Positive answer.
Dear Bhante, I want to deeply thank you for sharing Buddha's wisdom during this retreat. There is a story on the wall of your right, and the title of the story is Defeat of Mara and Enlightenment. I compared my past thoughts, negative or positive, with the story. The story concludes Buddha achieving perfect enlightenment after defeating demons. Can I interpret my past negative thoughts and future desires as demons? These thoughts keeps coming every time I close my eyes. I am afraid to close my eyes sometimes because I do not want thoughts rushing through my mind and I won't be able to fully concentrate on my breath. Thank you again for your time and teaching.
When and where you are met up with the demon, with mindfulness, the power of demon reduces. If you escape it, the demon will be the demon. So have a meeting with him, have a green tea with the demon, have a meet with the demon, associate with the demon, so it will be poor and poor day by day. So that's why I'm having green tea all the time. So when you come, I say, yes, come, why don't you sit, have a cup of tea? Don't try to escape it. Escaping means that you are not allowing your catharsis. Each time you come, you have a kind of uncertainty, the fear, and kind of there's a way to keep the mindfulness as your guardian and let the demon to come, let the bad thing to come, and that is the way I would say it's a piecemeal basis. You take it as a day-to-day unsatisfactoriness. Don't try to avoid it. If you avoid pent-up energy, penting up inside. So let it happen in the piecemeal basis, little by little daily. Ultimately it will become a natural, the normal thing in your day. So the negative thing is not negative, of course. If you look at it in a positive way, and if you go prepared with it, its malice, bad power will be slowly reducing. So therefore, let it happen, let that happen, that sour feeling and fearful feeling, little by little daily, and then you may familiarize it. Ultimately, demon will no more a demon.
Dear Bhante, thanks and much merits for your teachings. Bhante, at daily practice, is it okay to allocate some time for loving kindness meditation with sitting? Could you please explain a little bit about it too? Again, thanks a lot, Bhante, and thanks a lot, CYM, for hosting this retreat.
So consider mindfulness as loving kindness. The synonyms. Practice mindfulness, so definitely the results of loving kindness will happen instead of calling it by another name. So mindfulness is, the Buddha mentioned, satikvaham bhikkhave sabbatirang vada. I tell you monks, expect mindfulness in all the circumstances, everywhere. It's a panacea. Don't put another name, meditation, loving kindness. I am not against it. I am telling as far as this simple, straightforward, innocent thing is there, why should you put another names and complicate the situation? It's so simple, so innocent.
Venerable Bhante, when I do sitting meditation, my eyes are closed, but the inner eye, is it eye conscious, is open. When I give awareness to my breath, I noticed sometimes my inner eyes rolls down towards nose. Sometimes in the lower half of the space, and also I can shut them down by will, which appears make me sleepy. Does it make any difference where my inner eyes are nesting? This suddenly occurred to me. Thank you, Bhante.
So these things are the few kind of inner adjustments to see that you are mindful. When and where you are mindful, there are some lot of signs are there, and there are some conspicuous signs to say most of the signs, most of the early signs of mindfulness is irritation. Whenever you are mindful, you feel kind of irritation. And if you misunderstand or misinterpret, finding as my fault. And if you further, you may find fault with others also. So therefore, irritation as one of the early signs of mindfulness, and let it familiarize, let it season. Ultimately, it will not be much of a case. So some people say when they are mindful, they feel heavy feeling or tingling sensation around the nose, under the nose and above the upper lip. And some people feel end of the fingertips. Some people feel earlobes, and near the third, the eye. So there are some cases. It appear like some kind of a little stimuli or little kind of worms and hot bubbles and cold bubbles like, or like as your eyes are dropping and then kind of a focusing happen. So take it in a positive way. Don't interfere with it. Don't get committed with that. Let it happen. After a while that will be normalized. And you will be going further. So much so, the meditation happen effortlessly. Understand the early signs, but don't react to them.
Dear Bhante, this is my sitting meditation report, and it is a good one, I believe. After your Dhamma talk on the pause between the disappearance of a breath and the rising of the next one, the grey area, I decided to pay more attention to that area. I thought if I watch tight the ending part of the breath and don't let loose of my attention until the next breath arises, perhaps my attention will be intact all throughout the movement of the continuous breath body. Because the middle part is clear anyway. I thought maybe the thieves come through that between moment of the ending part and the beginning part. So I was very vigilant and that pause area. I had most of the 60 minutes very alert. Only a few times thoughts tried to enter, but I knew most of it before it came.
So to give an example, when you are looking at a film, in the film hall, you see how the screen is getting enlightened, and scene after the scene it is happening, but you see the projector, between two scenes, there's a darkness. But even if you look at the film for 3 hours, you never see the darkness. You see a continuity of the light. That is because our eye is carrying the sign so that it will never look at the dark and see the continuity of light. That is how the animation taking place. Imagine if the projector is running in a slow speed, then the moment you see the darkness, you can't entertain the film. Gone. You don't know whether it's tragedy or comedy because it's a bloody machine is broken. I can't see the film. So in the meditation also, bloody machine go wrong. And you see in between thin slicing of time. And they are entertainment of the life. And this tragedy, comedy kind of a story get disturbed. So that is how. Imagine what you are if you are looking at a cartoon film. And you see, it is just the pencil marks. Ultimately, when it is running in proper speed, it appears like animation. But if you slow down the speed, everything disappears. So likewise, when the mindfulness increases and the breath becomes calm down, at the time you can see episode by episode. More frames in 1 second. And ultimately you find out of these episodes, you are making a story. Like a breath or any activity. So when you are to see little by little or piece by piece or episode by episode, you see that how much you contribute out of your ignorance. Ignorance happened in between two scenes, 2 slides. And how can you reach into that? Moment you reach, the animation really stops. The story disappears. And still to look into that, how much scientific you should be, how much reductionist you should be, and that only you can understand how much ignorance you need to entertain the life. You must have your own ignorance, otherwise we can't make this animation. So meditation, when you are looking at the breath, at the beginning you see the gross breath, and later, when you are specifically in the sitting posture, no much of consumption of oxygen, so the breath naturally calm down. That is what the Buddha mentioned. Digang vasa santo digang asasamiti pajanati, rasang vasa santo rasang asasamiti pajanati. At the beginning you feel long in-breath, you know long in-breath. And the long out-breath, you know long out-breath. Afterwards you see the short in-breath, you know the short in-breath. And short out-breath. And afterwards still reduces, becomes subtle and subtle. And by the time if the mindfulness becomes more and more sharp, then only you can see the breath, at least it has the beginning part, the middle part, the end part. So our natural attention is on the middle, tip of the iceberg. Both the sides are usually not. So you have to focus, you have to advert, you have to avenue your attention to see it. So when it is there, the mindfulness, the energy of the mindfulness, the momentum of the mindfulness, acceleration of the mindfulness must be high. The breath must be calming down. Then only you can penetrate into the situation. And it's a very, very important stage in your meditation. And there you can find, in your rush, in your inattentive way, in your negligent way, breath appears very smooth. But when you cut through, when you advert, and when the mindfulness is sharp, you see, they are in episodes. They are in the batch system, not the continuous system. Ultimately, you can apply same thing to all the other activities. So therefore, when it is happening, just facilitate it, even though it is boring, even though it is not animated, even though there is no tragedy and comedy, your scientific or your kind of a reductionist kind of ability is increasing. And daily it is slowly going deep and deep and deep. And once you see the breath, the totality of the breath, there, whether you start with the rising and falling of the abdomen or in-breath and out-breath of the nose, no matter. Whatever may be, when you come to that, see the totality, sabbakaya patisangvedi in Pali, whatever the object, the same taste you may arrive at.
Venerable Bhante, I am aware that the book study knowledge for Dhamma is a necessary practice for my understanding of Buddhism. But so many books, so many names that I can't even pronounce. I don't know which one to start with. Buddhism 101 is hard enough for me to understand. Never mind the 3 Nikayas and theories. Being a lay person, I have a limited time for practice and for everything. How should I split my reading and meditating time? That is not counting daily work, meditation, of course. Thank you very much, Bhante.
So how lucky during the time of the Buddha, there were no books. See, more and more devices we make, more and more the life becomes complicated. Teaching techniques, and Pandita Sayadaw in Burma, he used to say, now you go to university or auditoriums, how many teaching techniques? During the time of the Buddha, he never used chalk. He never used a blackboard. He just mentioned the relationship between 5 here and 5 here, how they are related to each other. That's it. No weapons like James Bond. When the elephant comes, he says, you see, I have none. So elephant worship. You see, I have no weapons, no pistol, no sword, nothing. You see, what a nice world our parents lived, and grandparents. More equipments, more tools, more complications. So therefore use utility value. Whatever easy way start, there's no golden formula, no universal kind of thing. And whatever you use, put into use, and that's the way. And during the time of the Buddha, Savaka means the listener. Buddha is preaching, other party is listening. And that's the only way available. Even today, it is the best. It's the best. You have to go in person, and when you are grasping, it's a direct. I like the superconducting rather than all the other kind of things. So therefore, use what is the utility value, not only the book, maybe listening, maybe reading, maybe other kind of thing. And what I found was we have no lack of knowledge. Only thing is we have too much of knowledge. That's what preventing us. So one of the person used to say that each and every curry and the food we are using, there should have a certain amount of salt. So it is not the problem of lack of salt, it's too much of salt. So today we have enough information to be mindful what book you need. To be here and now. So that is birthright. That's your endowment. You are born with it. So if you are lack of faith, if you have confidence, if you need confidence only, you need other reading materials. To be here and now, to be mindful, no tools necessary. No other places necessary, no other people necessary, you are already there. So define again and again through your experience to be mindful, we are already endowed with, we are already born with it. So only you need books to teach others, or if you have any doubts. I'm telling you, of course, there may be some doubts, definitely. Read it, but don't consider it as a hindrance or complication-like kind of thing. Without books, we can do better.
Dear Bhante, regarding the unpleasant feeling coming from a known source, what is the best preparation for not arousing the underlying tendency of the painful feeling?
No, don't start with the underlying tendency, just see the painful feeling, and try to continue it from the beginning to the middle to the end. And see what is blocking, what is disturbing. Disturbing is the underlying tendency. So your facilitation, your approach must be to see whether pleasurable or painful, to see the beginning, the middle and the end. That we call patience. And underlying tendency is the one blocking. So therefore don't worry about the blocking. Just try yourself to be with the painful feeling 1 split second more. 1 split second more. And that patience and that kind of a preparedness, not only you will understand characteristics of the painful feeling, the shape and the manner it is going, and you see why it is not naturally happening because of the underlying tendencies. Therefore, first thing first, you have to deal first with the feeling as such.
Dear Bhante, you mentioned that the sitting meditation is passive and has no intention, and walking meditation has intention. I wonder if mindfulness itself is not intention. I try to make my mindfulness more clear and strong, and I think it works. 2, how do I recognize or see intention in walking meditation?
The walking meditation is that just to see in the common sense, to move your legs. So when it is happening, the day you understand the right leg is now, not the left, and if you are to see, it is like in this room, that electric supply is there. But if you go there and switch on, that particular circuit will going to start, then switch off, that will stop. Likewise, the mind also, and the mind and body connection also happening through that kind of a communication. The body to work, there should have an impulsion, or there should have a kind of a message. So usually it is hidden. Only you see the physical work. So see the physical work in a very sharp way. Why only that particular part, not the other part? Why it is so specific? Because your intention is there specifically for that. So first, whenever you penetrate, whenever you familiar, whenever you face to face with the physical movements, then only you can see the intention, your volitional activity. When compared to your heartbeat, it is not with intentional activity. It is involuntary. So the day there you understand voluntary action and involuntary action. If you are not mindful, they are completely mixed up. Whether you do or it happen, whether you look or you see, whether you listen or you hear. And that is the most intricated part in the language, the passive voice and the active voice. And you are to understand whether I do it intentionally or something it is happening to me. The day you apply into your thought, you will see so much of percentage of thoughts without a thinker. That's why I told the book by Mark Epstein, Thought Without a Thinker. And if you are not discerning, you consider everything as you thought, you're thinking. But it is something happening. You are in your screen, so much of drama happens. Who is the editor? Who is the playwright? You are only a spectator. Ultimately, you think it is me, mine and myself at the end of the day. But if you are on the spot, where as and when it happens, if you observe it, you can see how much it is just thoughts without a thinker. Likewise, when you are going in walking, by how that body maintain that track, how to the end go there and turn, how that it happens. Because of the intention, but though it is not obvious in front of the screen, but behind the screen you can see. But in sitting, to come and sit, intention is there. To be mindful, intention must be there. After a while, they happen in a effortless way. And after a long time of walking, even the walking appear like effortlessly. That is why it says, when you are brushing your teeth, once it becomes a customary and daily thing, just shed light of mindfulness while you are brushing. One thing at a time, and that done well kind of a thing, and see how the body knowledge is doing it. How when you are washing dishes, how the body knowledge is doing it. And this is the way you can entertain yourself as if you are looking outside. Walking, it's a very nice experience in that sense. And sometimes, of course, it happen in the sitting also. You can observe your walking as if you are step out and look at it. This is not happening when you're in the very intentional doing. After seasoning, after familiarizing only, you can see that is a point where real walking meditation is happening. Things are happening in the effortless way when compared to this intentional thing. So you have to separate it out and delimit the role of intention. And this walking meditation is better when compared to the sitting meditation for that.
Venerable Bhante, I am aware that the mindfulness is the way of life for now on, while I am able to breathe. But the sitting meditation feels different. That is more focused mindfulness. Maybe with a goal, whether to activate something or to release something. I am just wondering that a beginner like me to try to do something for insight to happen. But after the realization or the insight happens, what would the awakened ones do in sitting meditation, since there is nothing more to be realized? Stay in blissful state, maybe. Thank you very much, Bhante.
So once after mindfulness develop, come up to the maturity, hardly any difference in sitting and walking or standing or lying down, because it is go beyond the time and space. It's always try to be mindful. And I ask my teacher, and he's very strict into the timetable. I never ask him why you are following the timetable. I ask why the Buddha is following the timetable after becoming enlightened. Then he says, just to set an example for the followers. It's a forerunner. So they do not only for their own enlightenment, they set the role model for others to follow. So likewise, after enlightening, the Buddha himself did the sitting meditation. Venerable Maha did all the austere practices after the enlightenment. For what? It is just to set an example. And of course, he may be living in the present moment. For him, for the enlightened being, living in the present moment is the contentment. That's a bliss. When compared with the absent-minded or future excitement kind of thing. So whether sitting or walking, being in the present moment is the most compassionate thing you can do to yourself.
Bhante, thank you so much for your teachings. My question. We project beauty onto an object, we project ugliness onto an object, or we can just see the object as neither beautiful nor ugly. Is the latter seeing the object as empty, or is it equanimity, or both? Please clarify equanimity.
It says that uninstructed person, ugly means ugly. It is never change to the neutral or positive. Beautiful means beautiful, never change. But the practitioner find, beautiful can change to ugly, ugly can change to beautiful, changes can take place while in the meditation. But once you become enlightened, any ugly thing you can see, if you wish, as a beauty. Any beautiful you can see as ugly. So that is his mastery. It's called Arhat Vikurvana. Even the very beautiful thing he finds, it can mislead other people and therefore ultimately lead to hell. So that is the bad of the beautiful thing. An ugly thing, you can see, one can reflect upon this, the ugliness on this, and be contemplative. That's the beauty of the ugliness. Like, you are not driven by the external thing. You know your projection of that is the most important. So that means in the enlightened being, remote control, you can't remote control enlightened being's mind. The remote control battery has gone. So you press it, but never works. If you wish to see this as beautiful, it is beautiful. If you wish to see it is ugly, it is ugly. That he knows this is nothing but my projections. So this is how the advancement of the mind can take place. But if you are not meditating, you are chasing behind beautiful thing, thinking it is ever beautiful. But that is not the case for the meditators. So meditators in between two worlds, changing world. So it's very restless kind of thing. Once you go to the other show, things are the things. It depends on what is your projection. So that is the mastery, or that is the familiarization they have done. So therefore they are aloof from the impression of the object.
The questions are over, but there are 2 thanking notes. I'll read them too. Nice ones. Bhante, thank you for traveling so far to bring us your teachings. I'm grateful to have been able to learn from them and hopeful that my older mind will remember most of it so I don't miss the bus in this lifetime. Safe travels with Metta. Dear Venerable Bhante, words cannot express the immense gratitude that fills my heart and mind. Your teachings and guidance are invaluable, and I will cherish them always. I dedicate to you all the merits gained during this retreat, and may your wisdom, compassion, and loving kindness be always a limitless fountain available to quench the thirst of all sentient beings who, like me, are afflicted by ignorance. May your presence and words bring light, hope, and warm heart to all that cross your path. Thank you, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We have about 5 to 10 minutes. If there are any other questions from the audience.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to say this, but forever I've always thought that there is something else. My eyes can see it, I can't describe it, but at some point in my life, put a block that's not allowing me to step over and see what's already there, and I know it's there. At this point in my life, I don't know if I'm delusional or what, but it's something very real for a long time. But I'm stuck or something.
So I can give a parallel epithet. Krishnamurti, I don't know whether you heard about that, the Indian sage, and he says, when you are walking in the dark, dusk or dawn, you see on your path fallen leaves, and just before you going to step upon a leaf, you find a little object underneath, and ignorantly if you step in, and if it is a serpent, soon it come up its area, it will bite you. But if you know this is a serpent, and just split second, if you comes to know it's venomous, and he says, there's nothing for someone to teach you which leg to take and which direction to run, because it is embedded. If you know the danger. Likewise, when you're observing, we know our natural eye is looking only the superficial value. But underneath, there are some. So therefore, that very knowledge itself is a guardian. Sometimes our rational mind is not happy to see, happy to wish to see it. So therefore, we feel like phobia, we feel like fear of freedom, or fear of unknown, or neophobia. So that is the ignorance we have to understand. Is it me? It is mine? It is myself. So always there. So that very opening, is it an endowment or is it a distraction? Understanding that something blocking is an endowment, a blessing, or is a distraction. So you have to use it when you're more and more you practice. You never decide by the superficial value, face value. You just ponder into again and again. But it is not our natural tendency. Naturally, we are not happy to see the truth. The Buddha has to come. Buddha has to come and let you know, this is the way to look into the truth. Our mind is always evading the truth. So therefore, the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain, always fighting. So after a long time only that real combination, this thing can happen. Till that, you have to understand, yes, we see, but what you see is not complete. We see only the picture, we have to see the canvas also. So that is transition, that's the evolution has to take place. Once you're given the suggestion, it has to be seconded. Not very easy. You can suggest, but the seconding will not come because we have fast, long-lasting habits, our traits, our likings and disliking. But anyway, once you see it, you can't erase it from your memory. Not it is working here, now I am here, now for the 100%. But slowly, it is getting seasoned, getting familiarized, and you will never happy just by face value. Whenever time permits, you ponder into. So always it is not happening because natural instinct never allowed the truth to happen. It's always against the truth. That is how the propagation takes place. We have our sexual desire and the proliferation, everything happen. So Buddha is telling in a sarcastic way, the worldly development, I mean the so-called the infrastructural and all the development, it's a world development, it's a loka, vaddaka, ultimately end up with the increasing number of symmetries. Loka vaddako, susana vaddako. more and more proliferation, more and more the new generation will come. They are more covered for the truth. They are never happy to see. So therefore we can't have a world view to everyone to get enlightened tomorrow. Only the mature people will see it. And through the others' ignorance also we can understand how far, so far in our past, we also travel the same path. Now you know, I see it, but it is not the end. So we have to look into it. But all the time it is not penetrating. One day you will hit the bus, hit the bullseye. So be patient.
Bhante, thank you again and again and again. I'll try to be brief. In your discussions, you have been talking about the centripetal force that it feeds mindfulness, or mindfulness feeds that centripetal force. But if you stand at any noontime on any corner, say on 7th Avenue in New York City, you will see thousands of people going around with tremendous centrifugal forces just slashing out, lashing out, lashing out, lashing out. If you're in your centripetal mode and they are in their centrifugal modes, then you are at risk of absorbing their whatever. How do you put yourself at rest so that you don't either lash out, because you don't want to lash out, but you don't want to absorb, if that makes sense?
So come to Chuanying instead of going to the center of the town. I mean, you have option. You are the person selecting the center of the town.
Okay.
Who asked you to go there?
I have to go.
So therefore, you see, once you have to, if you select that option, and definitely, I will put it in this way. Now we are in the center of the, how do you call the square that in the New York that you have so much of? Times Square.
Times Square.
We go there last time. And when you go there, it's a complete, I am a bumpkin coming from the village, and go there and see. For me, understanding about the Chuanying, for us, is a burden or is a way out?
It's not a burden, but it's a need. You're asking me what is my...
No, you have two options. Earlier you have no option. You don't know mindfulness, you don't know Chuanying, you know only the Times Square.
I see.
And then you are definitely, your question is valid. Now you know there's one technique called mindfulness, and that there are places, forest and under the tree and solitude places.
Right.
When you go even in the center of the town, and that option is there within you.
Okay.
So is it a burden for you or is it kind of a relief?
Okay. It would be a relief to find
So
that.
go again to the Times Square and see the...
Oh, you mean to be there? No, you would be...
Yeah, go there and see, after meditation, how it is. You will answer your own question.
Okay.
I mean, that is the way it is pragmatic. Don't avoid it. If
Right.
it's there, no, you go there and see, after meditation, how is that panoramic situation. And before you, sorry, you have no option, that's the only way, that's no way out. Now you have to go there and see, is this mindfulness valid even in the Times Square?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
And then you see it is very difficult to justify because it is so demanding. Then you will see in the next intentional decision or conscious decision, you are more to the solitude, more to the forest, more under the tree, or planning again and again to the Times Square. So your future planning will be colored by this comparison. So it's a long evolution, not by overnight. Little by little you have to adjust your way of life so that you give more chances. And I'll tell you, even if you have no any conscious decision, mind will select. That's a Dhammata. Dhammata means the law of nature. Once given the option, it will, in future planning, it will get more chances for the solitude.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, now we have about 55 minutes for walking meditation. So we are going to wind up the question and answer session. Thank you very much for the participation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.